Imagine a global conflict so catastrophic that entire nations are wiped off the map. World War III: who would survive, and who would fall first? Stay tuned to find out which 10 countries are most likely to face the brunt of the apocalypse. Welcome to our channel, where we explore the harsh realities and potential outcomes of a world on the brink of collapse. In today's video, we'll uncover the top 10 countries that would be destroyed first in World War III. Our selection is based on military alliances, geographical vulnerabilities, and geopolitical tensions. Buckle up as we dive into this intense and thought-provoking countdown.
Number 10.
South Korea stands as one of the most vulnerable nations in the event of a global conflict like World War III. Sharing a heavily militarized border with North Korea, it has been under constant threat for decades. North Korea's extensive ballistic missile program and nuclear arsenal make South Korea a prime target. The proximity of Seoul, with over 10 million residents, to the demilitarized zone increases the risk of mass casualties. Hosting multiple U.S. military bases, South Korea is strategically important but also a direct target for adversaries of the U.S. The country's economic hubs, including Incheon and Busan, would be severely impacted. North Korea's large army and artillery could wreak havoc before international aid arrives. Tensions over territorial disputes in the Yellow Sea further heighten risks. While South Korea has a strong military and advanced technology, its small size leaves limited room for maneuver. In the case of a surprise attack, evacuation and defense would be extremely challenging. Moreover, North Korea's unpredictable leadership adds another layer of uncertainty. South Korea's alliance with the West ensures support, but it also guarantees that it would be one of the first to be attacked in any large-scale conflict. The nation's position in East Asia makes it both a key player and a high-risk target in global warfare scenarios.
Number 9.
Israel's strategic location and historical conflicts place it high on the list of nations at risk in World War III. Surrounded by nations with long-standing animosities, Israel is often at the center of Middle Eastern tensions. Its ongoing disputes with Iran and other neighboring states make it a potential flashpoint. The country is home to the Iron Dome defense system, one of the most advanced in the world, but even this may be overwhelmed in a multi-front conflict. Israel's small geographic size leaves its major cities, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, highly vulnerable to missile attacks. Religious tensions further complicate its situation, as Jerusalem holds significance for Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. The presence of U.S. support and military aid makes Israel a key Western ally but also a direct target for opposing powers. Its history of military success could provoke preemptive strikes from adversaries looking to neutralize its strength early. Israel's economic hubs and critical infrastructure could face cyberattacks or physical destruction. The country's nuclear capabilities, while a deterrent, could escalate conflicts if activated. Geopolitics in the region means that any war involving Israel could quickly spiral into a global crisis. Peace treaties with some neighbors have reduced threats, but the risk of proxy wars remains high. Israel's survival would depend heavily on its alliances, but it would undoubtedly face immense destruction in the early stages of a world war.
Number 8.
Japan, despite its peaceful modern reputation, would be a likely target in World War III due to its strategic location in East Asia. Its proximity to both China and North Korea places it in the crosshairs of two highly militarized adversaries. Japan's alliance with the United States makes it a critical part of any Western-led coalition. Hosting several U.S. military bases, Japan would be a primary target for missile strikes from rival nations. Its pacifist constitution limits its military to self-defense, potentially hampering its ability to respond effectively. Major cities like Tokyo, Osaka, and Yokohama are densely populated, making them vulnerable to catastrophic damage. Japan relies heavily on imports for energy and food, which could be disrupted during prolonged conflict. Its economy, one of the largest in the world, could face devastation from cyberattacks or physical blockades. The nation's advanced technology and strong naval forces offer some protection, but they may not be enough against coordinated attacks. Japan's dependence on international trade routes, especially in the South China Sea, adds another layer of risk. Historical tensions with China and Korea could reignite, further destabilizing the region. The presence of nuclear-armed neighbors heightens the threat level. Japan's efforts to maintain regional stability may not shield it from the devastating effects of a global war.
Number 7.
Taiwan's geopolitical position makes it one of the most likely flashpoints in a global conflict, potentially triggering World War III. The island's ongoing tensions with China, which claims Taiwan as its territory, are at the forefront of its vulnerability. Taiwan is heavily reliant on U.S. military and political support, positioning it as a proxy battleground in the larger U.S.-China rivalry. Its economic significance, particularly as a global leader in semiconductor manufacturing, makes Taiwan a critical target. The Taiwan Strait, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, could become a major conflict zone, disrupting global trade. The island's limited military compared to China's massive forces puts it at a disadvantage in a prolonged conflict. Urban centers like Taipei are densely populated and would be at risk of heavy casualties in the event of missile or air strikes. Taiwan's mountainous terrain provides some natural defense, but its small land area limits strategic options. Cyber attacks could cripple the island's communications and critical infrastructure, making coordination with allies difficult. Its air and naval forces are advanced but insufficient to withstand a large-scale assault. Taiwan's strategic alliances with Japan and the Philippines would draw those nations into the conflict, escalating tensions further. The US's commitment to Taiwan's defense could trigger a direct confrontation with China. Ultimately, Taiwan's geopolitical significance ensures that it would be among the first nations affected in a global war. Number 6. Ukraine remains one of the most volatile regions in the world due to its ongoing conflict with Russia. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the war in the Donbas region have left Ukraine in a perpetual state of tension. As a buffer zone between NATO and Russia, Ukraine is of immense strategic importance. If World War III were to erupt, Ukraine would likely be a primary battleground. Its alliance with Western nations makes it a target for Russian aggression aimed at deterring NATO expansion. The country's limited military resources, despite Western aid, make it vulnerable to large-scale invasions. Key cities such as Kiev, Kharkiv, and Odessa would be primary targets for missile strikes and ground assaults. Ukraine's agricultural industry, vital to global food supplies, could be disrupted, leading to international crises. Its proximity to Russia and lack of natural barriers make defending the nation extremely challenging. Russia's hybrid warfare tactics, including cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns, have already weakened Ukraine's infrastructure. The presence of NATO forces on its western borders could escalate localized conflicts into global ones. Ukraine's energy dependence on pipelines running through its territory adds another dimension to its vulnerability. Despite its resilience, Ukraine would struggle to withstand a full-scale conflict involving multiple global powers. The nation's strategic location guarantees that it would be among the first casualties in a world war. Number 5. Pakistan's precarious geopolitical position makes it highly vulnerable in a global conflict scenario. Sharing borders with India, China, and Afghanistan, Pakistan is surrounded by potential adversaries and allies with conflicting interests. Its ongoing tensions with India over Kashmir could easily escalate into a larger war. Both nations possess nuclear weapons, making the stakes dangerously high. Pakistan's alignment with China in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, projects further heightens its strategic importance. The country's internal instability, including political turmoil and extremist threats, weakens its ability to respond effectively to external aggression. Major cities like Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad are densely populated and would be key targets in a conflict. Pakistan's economy, already fragile, could collapse under the strain of war. Its military strength, though significant, may not be enough to counter simultaneous threats on multiple fronts. Relations with the US have fluctuated, leaving Pakistan uncertain of reliable support. The presence of terrorist networks within its borders adds another layer of complexity, potentially drawing in international intervention. Pakistan's role in the Muslim world could lead to broader regional conflicts involving the Middle East. Water disputes with India over shared rivers could escalate into a full-blown crisis during wartime. Pakistan's strategic alliances and rivalries ensure its involvement in any major conflict, placing it among the first nations to suffer devastating consequences. Number 4. Iran's strategic location and contentious relations with multiple global powers make it a likely target in World War III. Sitting at the crossroads of the Middle East, Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, a vital choke point for global oil shipments. Its adversarial relationship with the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia places it at the center of regional tensions. Iran's nuclear program has been a long-standing point of contention, raising the risk of preemptive strikes from its enemies. The country's strong alliances with Russia and China could pull it into a larger global conflict. Major cities like Tehran, Isfahan, and Mashhad are densely populated and would be prime targets in air or missile strikes. Iran's military strength lies in its asymmetric warfare tactics, including the use of proxy groups like Hezbollah. However, its conventional forces are outdated compared to those of its adversaries. The Iranian economy, already weakened by sanctions, would struggle to sustain a prolonged war effort. Cyber attacks targeting Iran's nuclear facilities and critical infrastructure could cripple the nation's defenses. Religious divisions within the region could spark sectarian violence, further destabilizing the country. Iran's control over vital oil and gas resources makes it both a strategic asset and a target. The potential for regional conflicts to spill over into global war ensures Iran's place on this list of vulnerable nations.
Number 3.
North Korea's isolationist policies and aggressive military stance make it a likely focal point in a global conflict. The nation's extensive nuclear arsenal and ballistic missile capabilities position it as both a threat and a target. Its ongoing tensions with South Korea and the United States increase the likelihood of early involvement in a large-scale war. Pyongyang, the capital, is a hub of political and military activity, making it a prime target for preemptive strikes. North Korea's heavy reliance on China for economic and political support ties its fate to regional dynamics. Its military strategy prioritizes overwhelming firepower, with artillery capable of devastating South Korea within hours. Despite its size, North Korea's propaganda-driven military culture ensures a highly mobilized population. The nation's limited infrastructure and resources would struggle to sustain a prolonged conflict. Economic sanctions have already weakened its ability to cope with global pressures, making survival in wartime even more challenging. Any escalation involving North Korea could trigger responses from neighboring powers like Japan and Russia. The potential for a miscalculation or provocation in the Korean peninsula remains dangerously high. Its geographic position at the crossroads of major powers guarantees that North Korea would face immense destruction in the opening stages of World War III. Despite its nuclear deterrent, the regime's survival would be in jeopardy during a global conflict.
Number 2.
Saudi Arabia's strategic significance in the global oil market makes it a key target in any large-scale war. The nation's vast oil reserves and control over critical shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz heighten its vulnerability. Its long-standing rivalry with Iran over regional dominance adds another layer of risk. Saudi Arabia's close alliance with the United States makes it a direct target for adversaries of the West. Major cities such as Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam are economic and political centers that would likely face airstrikes or sabotage. The kingdom's military, while well-funded, relies heavily on foreign technology and expertise. Its involvement in the Yemen conflict has already strained resources and exposed vulnerabilities. Saudi Arabia's reliance on oil exports means its economy would collapse under prolonged blockades or attacks on oil infrastructure. Religious divisions, including tensions with Shia populations, could lead to internal unrest during a global conflict. The nation's heavy investment in defense systems like the Patriot missiles may deter some attacks but would not provide full protection. Cyber attacks targeting oil facilities, like the 2019 Abqaiq attack, show how exposed Saudi Arabia is to modern warfare. Any escalation involving Saudi Arabia could disrupt global energy markets, drawing in multiple powers and escalating the conflict further. The kingdom's strategic alliances and resources ensure its involvement in World War III, making it a likely target for early destruction.
Number 1.
As a global superpower, the United States is both a key player and a prime target in World War III. Its vast military presence around the world ensures involvement in any large-scale conflict. Major cities like New York, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles would likely face attacks due to their economic, political, and cultural significance. The U.S. hosts military bases across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, making them immediate targets for adversaries. The country's advanced technology and nuclear arsenal make it a formidable opponent, but its open borders and sprawling infrastructure pose vulnerabilities. Cyber attacks could cripple critical systems like energy grids, financial institutions, and communication networks. The U.S.'s dependence on international trade routes and imports for certain goods could lead to supply chain crises during a war. Its leadership in global alliances like NATO makes it a central figure in any Western coalition, drawing direct opposition from rival powers like Russia and China. Internal divisions, including political polarization and social unrest, could weaken the nation's ability to respond cohesively. The U.S. economy, while robust, would face severe challenges from prolonged conflict and disruptions to global markets. Strategic locations like Hawaii and Guam would be targeted for their military significance. Despite its strength, the scale of modern warfare ensures that the United States would face devastating consequences in the event of World War III. World War III is a nightmare none of us wish to experience, but understanding the potential outcomes can help us push for peace. Which country do you think is most at risk? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.